Hello, this is Corman from the Featherweight Shop, and today I'm going to talk to you about replacing a few of the electrical components on your featherweight. We're going to talk about the light switch, the light socket itself, the receptacle, and the motor. Going to use just some basic tools, a couple different flat screwdrivers, and a 9/16 inch open-end wrench. The first thing we're going to do is to turn the machine over and remove the drip pan from the bottom of the machine. Some of these screws I've already loosened for our demonstration here today. This tube right here that comes down, this lead tube, is what the wiring from the light housing comes down to the receptacle and the light switch. It's in this right here. And so first thing we're going to do is take off this wire clamp here. It's held on just by one screw. So we're going to remove it and set it aside. And then we're also going to remove the receptacle off of the machine, and it is held on with just one screw. I've already loosened that screw to take it out, but this is it right here. It's held on just by this one screw. You would replace this receptacle. Often they get broken on the bottom. They're bakelite, they're brittle. They get broken right here when you're putting it in and out of your case if you hit the case on the edge of this that sticks out past this here. And so anyway, so we would take the receptacle loose there. And the first thing we're going to work on is replacing the light socket itself. And so in order to do that, you have to get this wire loose, of course. And then it's a normal light switch or a light housing that has two wires to it. And so we're going to follow where those wires go. And the one wire, set this back up here, the one wire from the light housing is in position 1 right here. And so we're going to undo this wire nut, set it aside, and so that's one of our wires off of the light housing. The other wire is going to the other side of this switch right here. So this switch needs removed, and it's got a little bakelite nut on there. You don't want to over tighten this because it will crack. And so, but you take that off. That exposes this 9/16 real thin nut here. Now I have a 9/16 open-end wrench that I use to take this off. I've also made sure that on both sides this wrench is really smooth so that it doesn't cut into your paint or anything there like that. But it just needs a little turn in order to loosen it. And once it's loosened, you should just be able to take your fingers and spin it off. And then set it aside. And what that does is that allows this light switch to be pushed down to the underneath side of the machine. So when you turn it back over, now you can get to this light switch. And just get it out of the way here. And once you get to the light switch, you'll see that this second wire from the light socket itself is actually directly onto the switch itself. So you would undo that screw and set it aside, and now your light switch is loose. And so if you're going to replace the light switch, you know, occasionally these fail. So if you're going to replace those, it would be doing this same process, taking the switch out. The switch has one wire that is soldered on, and then the other wire from the light socket itself goes on this side. And so you would just take the wire from the light socket off like we've done here, and then the other one is in this position number 3 right here. And so you would take this off and undo those wires. There's 2 on position 3, one from the motor. Now I've got those wires off. And so now we've also taken off the light switch. The light switch, it's not necessary to take it completely off if you're just replacing the socket, but if you need to replace the switch, you would take it off as well that way. So now what we've done, I can get this wire loose over here. So we've got the two wires from the light socket completely loose now. This lead tube is bendable, so you'll want to straighten it out. And so it's straight now. I'm going to turn the machine. Actually, we're going to turn the machine about like that. So this is the underneath side of the light housing itself. I've removed the light bulb itself. Sometimes they can be tricky to get out. We actually have another video tutorial you'll find in our school section about how to get the light bulb out. But now what you would do is to remove this screw right here that holds the light socket on. Actually, it's holding the light housing on, the lamp shade, as it would be called. And a lot of times, because that lead tube is going through here, it's kind of stiff on there. But once you get to that point, see that one screw there was all that was holding it on. And now you just kind of fish it out of the machine. Straighten your wires from below and just keep working it back and forth, and it will come out. You see all that oxidation off that lead tube has come off. So now here we are. We've got a socket and a lamp shade, a lamp housing. And now this is held in here by two screws. The wiring and the socket is held into the lamp housing by two screws. This one right here is all it's doing is pinching against that lead tube. So it just needs loosened. It doesn't need all the way out, but it's just loosened. As you can see there, we're loose now. But then it's got this screw in the back of the housing here, the lamp shade, and it needs undone. And once it's loose, the socket itself will just slide right out. Should have a piece of felt behind it, and that felt is what presses up against there, and then the screw goes through the housing and into the back of the socket. You would replace the socket the same way. You just take a new one, put it in the same way that you took it out, attach the wires to the same two posts, one on the switch and one on the receptacle, and you would have it back together. So now we've got a machine here that we've got the lampshade off and the socket out and the light switch itself off. So now all we've got is we've got one wire that is connected to the motor that's left on our receptacle. So if you needed to replace the receptacle, you could see that one of the wires from the motor is going to the number 2 position, the center spot, and the other wire from the motor is going to go to number 3. So to recap, you have, for your light switch, you have one wire going to position number 1, and the other one that's coming from the light, this one here, that's coming off of the end of the lead tube, is going to position number 3. And then your motor goes to positions 2 and 3. There's 2 wires that hold on your motor, so if you were to need to switch out your motor, let's see if we can tip this. This is the screw we would want to take off right here. And once you take off that screw that's holding your motor on, you can then undo this little double, it's got these 2 grooves here on this clamp. So you would take off this screw right here, remove this wire clamp, and then you're left with these 2 wires here that come from your motor, and they fish back through the housing, and that's where the motor sits, is back here. So all you would need to do is to take this off and put your new motor, run the wires back through there, and hook those wires up to positions 2 and 3. And motor replacement is pretty simple, and actually all these are pretty easy repairs. Shouldn't take you more than 10-15 minutes to do any of them. But hope that helps, and if you have any questions, be sure to email us or send us a question through Facebook, and always happy to help.